Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason. Here are your hosts, Richard Saunders and Stefan Sojka.
Hello, Richard. How are you?
Hi, Stefan. I couldn't help noticing when I came into the studio today that you're looking a little different. Is it your hair, maybe? The shirt? Hang on a second. You've lost some weight.
Oh, Richard, I've been on a fantastic new weight loss program.
Yeah?
And, it feels great. I look better, don't I?
You do.
I do. I mean, if this was a vodcast, everyone would agree. But yeah, a little bit more about that later in the show.
Really? A new weight loss program?
A new weight loss program. It's fantastic.
Can't wait to hear about it.
And here we are. It's episode 21 of The Zone.
21.
Lucky 20. Do we get the key to the city now?
We should. The key to the internet, I think we should.
The key to the miracles of quackery. It's great to be back again.
Thank you. It's going to be, as ever, a big show. And before we start, thank you for everybody who's been subscribing. Our last show, which was a special with Dr. Richard Wiseman, was our highest rating show yet in terms of downloads.
So are we allowed to say how many, or is that sort of more in the realm of tax accountants and things?
Well, I would hope it was in the realms of tax accountants and we'd be making a lot of money. But no, in the first 24 hours, we had something approaching 3,000 downloads, which was a massive hit, really.
I think that's pretty good. That's
pretty good for a relatively new show, I think.
It is. And I actually read an article by Seth Godin, who's supposed to be a big marketing guru on the net, and he reckons podcasts don't work.
Really?
And I think he's got to be kidding.
I think he's right.
He's kidding.
No, I think he's wrong.
Wrong. He's totally wrong.
You're right.
So what have we got happening for this 13th of March? Another fabulously lucky episode.
Friday the 13th today.
Oh, yes.
Another Friday the 13th.
Oh, it's just phenomenal. What a year.
We're talking to Martin Bridgstock. Now, our reporter Kylie Sturgess will be chatting to Martin. He runs a course up in Queensland all about critical thinking.
Critical thinking?
In university, so that's interesting.
Okay, so with critical thinking, do the thinkers get upset that you're criticising them?
They're very critical. No, we're critical of the thinkers.
We're critical of them. Yeah, obviously it's done constructively.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Well, that'll be good to see.
We'll find out.
And of course, we do have Eran's grain of salt segment, don't we?
We do. He's back.
Thank goodness for that. That's a great little segment.
It's very popular too, as is the Roundup with Michael Wolloghan.
Oh, yes.
Strange current affairs.
Yep.
The think tank, of course, and not forgetting. No, never forgetting.
Never ever forget.
Dr. Rachie reports.
Yes, indeed. And what's she doing it on this week?
Some bizarre quackery called Life Wave.
Life Wave.
Wow.
What is it like? Is it a surfing thing?
I wish it was. It's a magical patch, but we'll find out more about that later.
Excellent. Well, here we go. I think we should just get on with the show.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Teaching critical thinking is something I find to be very important, and it's good to see other people have a similar mind. Here, Kylie Sturgess talks to Martin Bridgstock from Griffith University.
If we can have a show like Paranormal State on television, a program which promotes the idea that university students should uncritically accept paranormal claims, then logically there should be a more sceptical show too, the Skeptic State, perhaps. We may have the answer with Dr. Martin Bridgstock, who is a senior lecturer at Griffith University School of Science. In 2006, Dr. Bridgstock was the winner of the Australian Skeptics Prize for Critical Thinking for his course on skepticism, science and the paranormal, an original course prompting students to think critically about the paranormal, and it has been running for 6 years. He is the author of Creationism, an Australian Perspective, and was recently published in the Skeptical Inquirer on Skeptical Ethics, What Should We Investigate? Dr. Bridgstock took some time to talk to us at last year's convention at Wagga Wagga.
One of the great things that I like about the TV show Paranormal State, apart from the fact that it shows us by bad example about how running around with a camera and using a heat-seeking device really doesn't show us much about ghosts, is that the idea of Paranormal State, a university which is investigating ghosts, means that there must be logically another side, a skeptic state. So that's why I'm here today talking to Dr. Martin Bridgstock of Griffith University, who I hope might be one day the instigator of a skeptic state himself. Martin Bridgstock, it's lovely to see you here.
Thanks, great to be here, Kylie.
Great. What's it like to be teaching the course that you're doing? You are currently researching the efficacy of a course looking at skepticism and critical thinking with undergraduates at Real University.
What's it like? It's almost as though the students have come to life. Normally I go into the lecture theatre and I tell them things and I note it down and they note it down and we all go off for coffee. In this course I start to tell them things and hands go up and there are arguments and counter-arguments and then they bring me stuff to contradict what I said at the last lecture. It is extremely exhausting, extremely tiring and totally exhilarating because you see them then beginning to use your ideas and run with them and develop it and make them part of their own understanding, and that is one of the most exhilarating things a teacher can possibly have.
I certainly agree with that, having experienced it on a small scale that myself with high schoolers. So here we are with undergraduates. Why should it be so important for young people in this particular age group to be challenged in this way?
Well, there is the old-fashioned idea of education, which is the students sit there and you pour education into their minds and then they finally emerge educated, the old mug and jug theory, which I doubt anybody ever talks seriously, but we often act as though we did. Now, it's quite clear we've got a modern world in which knowledge is being made obsolescent at a greater and greater rate. Things that we know now, 10 years hence, may be useless or may be out of date. Therefore, what we've got to do, above all, is to teach young people how to understand, how to investigate for themselves, how to criticise knowledge and how to come to their own conclusions. Because if so much of knowledge is provisional, so much of knowledge is fallible, then the key thing we've got to teach them is the skills of comprehension and evaluation. And that's what a course like mine's intended to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the criticisms I know is how scepticism may not be exactly on par with critical thinking. So why use the pseudoscientific and the paranormal in order to promote critical thinking?
I regard scepticism as being a subset of critical thinking, plus one or two other extra elements like talking about evidence and in being interested in evidence as well. And one great advantage of talking about the paranormal is that it has an enormous amount of belief. Polls show that something like 80% of the community believes in the paranormal. And therefore people are interested. It applies to something that many of them are interested in, and they become interested, they become involved. They come in knowing that they're going to learn something about an area in which they have often a very passionate interest. And therefore, when I begin to show them methods and put them through methods of thinking independently, thinking critically, there's often a great deal of excitement.
And that excitement's often one of the most powerful things about getting people engaged.
Absolutely. I mean, really, in principle, all education should be like that. It should be an exciting journey towards some kind of understanding. But so much of it is simply people slogging through the motions in order to get a qualification at the end of it.
Yeah. So here's a bit of revitalisation, definitely. Your presentation yesterday, you spoke of the community of practice in conjunction with further education and exposure to sceptical ideas. What is community of practice here?
Well, this is a buzzword. It's an educational fad. We should all be very, very sceptical and cynical about educational fads because new ones come along every few years. Management may or may not adopt them enthusiastically, and then very quietly a few years later after that they're dropped. But community of practice, like most of them, does have at least a core of common sense. The core of sense is that if you learn something and then you go on and you work with a group of people who are actually applying what you've learned, you're far more likely to understand it more deeply and you're far more likely to remember it and retain the understanding. Now, therefore, if I can teach people the principles of scepticism, they go into the seminar groups, they perhaps apply them to a particular case of paranormal claims, and then if I can go on and link them up with other skeptics who are actually out there in the community doing skeptical investigations, implementing skeptical thought, I have a theory that they're going to probably learn a great deal more and retain a great deal more of the understanding.
And you intend to perhaps test this theory as an ongoing?
I'm hoping that I can. As you know, it's quite a logistical job evaluating education. It's easy enough if you've got the students at the beginning and the end of the course, but when they've gone out into the community, then it gets very, very difficult indeed. But I would hope eventually to do that, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that Loretta Marin, another powerful presenter here at the Wagga Wagga gathering, mentioned was when she was sending out emails and attempting to make contacts regarding weight loss claims and eventually creating her MGAO report, she got support from the medical community and yet did not approach psychologists, interestingly enough. So what part could psychologists play in perhaps investigating claims? Should psychologists, perhaps like the online pests group, perhaps see themselves as more powerful forces in terms of investigating claims?
Psychology, as you know, covers a spectrum. At the one end, there are scientifically inclined psychologists, and I don't mean rigorous behaviourists and rat runners, but just people who are interested in substantiating their evidence. At the other end, there is the very vague, very dreamy, introspective, psychoanalytical type. Now, I often find that the psychologists who tend towards the more scientific end are more conscious about the need for evidence, more conscious of possible weaknesses in evidence, and more critical about evidence than are most scientists, and indeed most academics and thinkers generally. So I regard them as an extremely valuable resource. And yes, I would very much like to work with more psychologists. The slight weakness with psychologists is that because they're mainly interested in how people think and how the brain works and so on, everything tends to be a little bit individualistic and a little bit focused on that, rather than the more extroverted approach of skepticism, which to say, okay, there's these claims about what's going on in the world, let's go and see what's really going on in the world. So, but no, I regard psychologists as being potentially valuable colleagues and allies.
So certainly encouraging that. As a final point, Loretta mentioned that her Mount Everest, as it were, her goal is to have a look at alternative medicine claims and find out more about them, test the efficacy, and certainly challenge those which do not work. What's your Mount Everest?
Funnily enough, I don't think like that. What I think of is I'm going in a general direction that I rather want to go in. I've set up this course, I've made it work, I tweak it and I try to make it work better. I would like to set up another course, and then I hope that that one will work better, and then I hope I can link the people from my course up with communities of practice, and I can perhaps get a book published, and I can gradually go in a general direction. So I don't have a Mount Everest such as Hillary and Tenzing went up, and I can say, right, we've done the bugger, that's it. What I want to do is to go in, what I want to do is to go in one particular direction.
Right. And certainly encouraging other people in those directions.
I encourage as many people as possible, absolutely. It's been great this weekend, actually, to see the group of people who are actually doing things. People like yourself, Kylie, people like Loretta Marin and so on. It's been very encouraging indeed. Yeah,
so here's to putting a community of practice actually with some efficacy into practice.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Dr. Martin Bridgstock will have a new book out this year from Oxford University Press, and you can find out more about his work and his course, Skepticism, Science and the Paranormal, at the Griffith University website.
Grain of salt, grain of salt, grain of salt.
Let's all take this with a grain of salt. Here's Eran Segev.
Grain of salt now. Grain of salt, you gotta take it with a...
Hello, this is Eran Segev, taking life with a grain of salt. In 1955, Glenn Doman established the Institutes for the Achievement of Human Potential. Doman, a physical therapist, believed his work with disabled children, and in particular the successes he had experienced with children who he called brain injured, had given him insight into how the brain can be developed and children be made to achieve their true potential. Under the umbrella term of brain injured, Doman included the following: brain damaged, mentally retarded, mentally deficient, cerebral palsied, epileptic, autistic, athetoid, hyperactive, attention deficit disordered, developmentally delayed, and Down's child. I will refer to that list later in the talk. Doman's methods included a raft of physical activities, such as crawling and rhythmic manipulation of body parts, as well as sensory stimulation. The system was based on intensive one-on-one work that would generally require one parent to work with a child full-time. Starting in 1964, in a series of books titled The Gentle Revolution, Doman and the Institutes for the Achievement of Human Potential have been aiming to assist well children to also achieve their true potential. Books that are supposed to increase your child's ability in maths, reading, swimming, and more have been published, all based on variations of the methods used for disabled children. If all that is not encouraging enough, it is also worth noting that Doman's work was based to a significant extent on the work of Temple Fay, who was head of the Department of Neurosurgery at Temple University Medical School. Unfortunately, there is a snag. After over 50 years of operation, there is no evidence at all that the methods employed by the Institutes for the Achievement of Human Potential work, regardless of whether the children are brain injured or well. Furthermore, the mechanisms behind the supposed effect have been thoroughly discredited, so there is no reason to suspect the methods could work, even in principle. So what about the scientific backing of Temple Fay? Well, it turns out that Fay's ideas on the development of the brain were not supported by evidence and have long ago been shown to be baseless. I chose to start my talk with Doman as his work is not as fashionable today as it has been in the past, and is therefore less likely to be known to the listeners. At the same time, I gave an early hint as to the conclusion regarding Doman. I listed the different conditions that Doman's methods are supposed to help with. Let me quickly repeat that list. Brain damage, mental retardation, mental deficiency, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, autism, athetosis, hyperactivity, attention deficit disorder, developmental delay, and Down syndrome. Such a mishmash of genetic, structural, physical, and developmental phenomena must raise the red flag of quackery in the minds of anyone who has had some experience with various forms of alternative to medicine. A cure for all, or at least for numerous loosely related phenomena, is one of the hallmarks of unscientific treatment modalities. Doman and his institute have been around for a long time, but they are far from alone in offering ways of curing children with brain-related disabilities and disorders or improving the performance of well children. Winford Dorr, a UK industrialist and father of a child severely affected by dyslexia, invented a series of exercises that were supposed to beat ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, and Asperger's syndrome. For a few years, the Dorr program was very successful in the UK and in Australia. Thousands of parents paid hefty fees to experience the method, details of which were kept as a trade secret. Despite insisting that the program was based on sound scientific research, Dorr was never able to show any properly conducted studies. The one study that was ever exposed was soon shown to be poorly conducted and uncontrolled, which led to damning articles in the Times Educational Supplement and in the journal Dyslexia. The Dorr program went into liquidation in Australia in 2008 and in the UK in early 2009. Many parents have paid deposits that will never be returned without their children going through the program. The available evidence suggests that they're not worse off than those who spent the money and did go through the program. Dr. Phil, he of Oprah fame and well-known promoter of pseudopsychology, has a page on his site providing strategies for improving your child's intellectual performance. The page starts with this rather appropriate disclaimer. Quote, "Is it possible to raise your child's intelligence? Some experts say you can't because it's fixed at birth, while others believe that intelligence is changeable. Neither side of the intelligence debate disputes that you can at least increase your child's intellectual performance." End quote. What follows on that page is a list of general advice, some of which is simple, sensible stuff, such as create a stimulating environment, while some is a little bit more debatable, such as practice controlled breathing exercises with your child. In any case, nothing contentious is presented until you follow a link to a site in which Dr. Phil's mentor, Dr. Frank Lawless, sells CDs titled Upping Your IQ and Music for Enhancing IQ. It should be noted that while there is no evidence that you can improve a child's IQ, there is plenty of evidence that you can improve a child's IQ score. The two are not the same, of course, and it is possible to do better in an IQ test with enough preparation. No child will turn from average to genius or from retarded to average, but certain improvements are possible. Unlike the Doman or Dorr systems, which have at least part of their focus on children with genuine problems, the Improve Your Child IQ type products are aimed at children who are well. One site selling IQ improvement CDs under the ambitious claim that such an improvement is guaranteed details the expected increase in income for an increase in IQ in order to encourage parents to purchase their CDs. The value of an IQ point, in case you are interested, is $1,000 per year. It is easy to understand why parents of children with neurological impairments fall for the kind of promises made by Doman, Dorr, and their ilk. A lot of parents in such situations are either very frustrated with dealing with their child's problem, or concerned about their child's future, or, most probably, both. Since the state of our understanding of the brain is such that a lot of neurological problems are either untreatable or can only be alleviated to a small extent, parents can become very desperate and choose to cling to the hope that these snake oil merchants offer. Unfortunately, for most of the conditions mentioned, there are no cures, only techniques that help manage the problems, and parents would do well to spend their time and money on the limited benefits of those techniques rather than on miracle cures that don't work. Having used the term snake oil merchants, I would like to mention in parenthesis that there is reason to believe that both Glenn Doman and Winford Dorr started their journey misguided but genuinely eager to help. While it is clear that Dorr turned his attention to profit-making very quickly, the Doman case seems to be less clear-cut. He may well still believe that his methods help and be doing this for the benefit of the children. And back to parents. While I expressed understanding for the plight of parents of neurologically impaired children, I must say I'm a lot less tolerant of the parents of neurotypical children who go to great lengths to improve the child's performance. I am not, by the way, referring to helping a child achieve a specific goal, such as getting good marks at final exams. It seems to me that the main reason for wanting to generally improve a child's performance has a lot more to do with competition with other children and parents than it is with the good of the child. There is plenty of evidence that giving children attention, reading with them, playing with them, and ensuring they get help when they struggle helps them achieve better academic and emotional outcomes. Buying them a CD that promises to increase their IQ by a few points is only a way of sending children the message that they need to improve, which by implication means that they are not good enough as they are. Such a message is likely to be a lot more damaging to a child than the benefit of an increase of a few points in an IQ test.
Grain of salt, you gotta take it with a...
Hi, this is Grizzly from the Grizzlies Growls podcasts at grizzliesgrowls.com, and you're listening to The Skeptic Zone. And so am I. But hey, don't take my word for it. Aw, come on, that was funny. Skeptic, don't take my word. Oh, never mind.
Hello, my name is Michael Wolloghan, and welcome to The Roundup, where I share news and views that will interest skeptics, humanists, secularists, and followers of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Well-known American rapper, record producer, and actor Snoop Dogg has revealed he has joined the Nation of Islam after appearing at the religious group's annual Saviour's Day event in Chicago. Snoop, who has described himself as the leader of the hip-hop community, told followers he would share what he learned with other musicians. Snoop told reporters he had joined the group because he was, quote, doing what's right and representing what's right, end quote. The Nation of Islam wishes to resurrect the spiritual, mental, social and economic conditions of the black men and women of America within an Islamic framework. At the Saviour's Day event, the rapper sat on stage while Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan gave a speech. Farrakhan has always been surrounded by controversy, and critics have claimed that some of his views are blatantly racist and homophobic. The Southern Poverty Law Center, an American non-profit legal organization known for its tolerance education programs, listed the Nation of Islam as an active hate group in 2005. A German lawmaker last week suggested an interesting way of dealing with the menace of dog do on the streets: DNA testing to identify the canine culprit and fine its owner. Peter Stein, a conservative politician in eastern Germany, said that under his proposal, officials would test the offending doggy-doo and then match it up to the offending dog using a DNA database. German dog owners are fined 30 to 40 euros if they fail to clean up after their beloved pets. Naturally, very few are caught, with only 4 fines being given out in Stein's hometown of Rostock last year. Stein said, "Just saying it wasn't my dog will not wash anymore." US President Barack Obama's lifting of restrictions on federal funding for human embryonic stem cell research has caused conflict with Pope Benedict and the American Roman Catholic Church. After Obama signed the order on Monday, the Vatican and US church leaders condemned the move. Obama reversed and repudiated restrictions placed on the research by George W. Bush, freeing labs across the US to start working with the cells, which can give rise to any kind of cell in the body. After the ban was lifted, US shares in stem cell research companies rose. Researchers said companies that had often been afraid to test the waters would probably leap in now that federal dollars can be used. The issue will most likely be a main topic at the first meeting between the Pope and Obama, which is expected to take place in July when the President is in Italy for a G8 summit. Fijian police have revealed they will be questioning members of the One World Healing Church regarding a 17-year-old who died in their care last week. The boy's post-mortem results revealed he died because pus had gathered in his lungs and heart. The boy had been sick for over a month and was not taken to a hospital because the church believes that the sick should not seek medical assistance but should be prayed for. A new controversy is brewing over the HBO program Big Love. In an upcoming episode, the show's promotion says it will reveal Sacred Latter-day Saint temple ceremonies. Church leaders have issued a lengthy response while church members are filing complaints. When the series premiered 3 years ago, HBO executives assured Latter-day Saint church leaders that the storylines would be about polygamists, not Mormons. But the next episode will blur that distinction and promises to take viewers inside a temple, revealing Sacred Latter-day Saint clothing and ceremonies. The show's executive producer says that's never been shown on television before. An ex-Mormon consultant helped him with all the details.
Hi, Phil Plait from badastronomy.com and the James Randi Educational Foundation here. If you want to get an American take on things like moon hoaxers, astrology, chiropractors, creationists, anti-vaxxers, global warming denialists, homeopaths, psychics, UFO believers, and doomcriers of any flavor, then go to badastronomy.com, randy.org, or skepticblog.org, and there you'll be able to read me ranting, railing, frothing, and foaming about hoaxes, nonsense, pseudoscience, anti-science, and anyone who spins, folds, or mutilates reality.
Hi, I'm Professor Stefan Sojka from the Miracle Weight Loss Academy, and I'm here to tell you about our new Miracle Weight Loss program, Eat Less and Exercise More. The secret to weight loss will finally be revealed to you if you sign up to this amazing program now. For just 12 easy payments of $395.95, you will get the complete Eat Less and Exercise More 18 DVD set, the 4-volume Eat Less and Exercise More book series, 22 Eat Less and Exercise More audio CDs, as well as the exclusive membership to the Eat Less and Exercise More website, the Eat Less and Exercise More podcast, vodcast, Facebook page, and Twitter posts, in which you will finally have revealed to you the secret to weight loss. You can never get the weight off without the secrets that will be revealed to you in this Miracle Weight Loss Academy program. Sign up to Eat Less and Exercise More and start losing weight today. But that's not all. If you sign up and start the Eat Less and Exercise More program within the next 30 minutes, we will also give you the amazing relaxation program, Lie Down and Close Your Eyes, within which you will discover the miraculous secret to eliminating stress. Eat Less and Exercise More. The secret to weight loss is only 12 easy payments of $395.95 away. Go to eatlessandexercisemore.com now.
Wow, the things you find on eBay. Right now on eBay, there's a cartoon, a comic strip, called Mystery Investigators No. 1, signed by, well, me, Richard Saunders. If you go to eBay and simply search for Mystery Investigators and the name Richard, so Mystery Investigators Richard, you'll find this great little comic strip drawn by our good friend Philip Quinn. It's quite flattering. It's autographed by myself and the cartoonist, and all proceeds go to the James Randi Educational Foundation. So run to eBay, have a look, and bid if you like.
Now it's time for Dr. Rachie Reports with Dr. Rachael Dunlop.
How would you like your pain reduced by 50 to 100% in just 2 minutes? Increase your energy and strength endurance within minutes of use? Lose weight. Remember, if you are overweight, it's not your fault. Or elevate your blood glutathione levels by over a whopping 300% in just 24 hours. Hello everyone, and welcome to Dr. Rachie Reports. The next miracle cure has arrived in Australia. It's Life Wave Miracle Patches. They are currently touring Australia, giving seminars on how to become a distributor. The series of 5 patches are known as Energy Enhancer, Ice Wave, Silent Nights, Glutathione, and SP6. And like most miracle cures, these guys can treat or assist with everything and anything. For example, the Energy Pads, Energy Enhancer, relieve symptoms of fatigue, loss of sleep, nervousness, exhaustion, muscle weakness, drowsiness, etc., and support energy production, breathing, and stamina. Ice Wave is the pain relief pad which assists with the temporary relief of arthritis-related joint pain, general body aches, stiffness and soreness, swelling and bruising due to falls or blows, headaches due to stress, strain or illness, spasms and cramps due to strain or injury from overexertion. Silent Night Plus is for symptomatic relief due to exhaustion, inability to fall asleep, restlessness, tossing and turning, sleeplessness due to stress or worry, light sleeping, an overactive mind, tension, anxiety, nervous exhaustion, insomnia. The glutathione patch is anti-aging and also anti-autism, but more on that later. And SP6 is a weight loss and appetite control patch. So who are these miracle distributors LifeWave? Well, if you do a Google search for LifeWave, you get lots of hits for scam websites, pyramid marketing and multi-level marketing. On the website Worldwide Scam Network, they get an entire page dedicated to their dubious claims. LifeWave is headed by the patch inventor and president David Schmidt. He is not a doctor or a scientist, and according to the Worldwide Scam Network website, he has no apparent history, no formal education, no professional experience in his field, no documentation, records, or published peer review of any research into nanotechnology, resonant energy transfer, frequency modulation, electromagnetic induction, or any of the things he claims the pads can do. There is also some vague but unverifiable rumours that he used to work for the US Navy and the Navy SEALs, but they deny this story. On the converse, the health and science director of the company, Dr. Stephen Halterwanger, is a proper doctor with qualifications from the Medical College of Georgia. Dr. Halterwanger has a public record which establishes him as an educated professional with degrees in psychiatry, neurology, medicine, chemistry and pathology, and professional memberships, awards, publications, academic appointments, medical licenses, and an impressive work history that spans 34 years. However, he also has a wide range of interests that run the gamut of alternative medicine, unconventional therapies, and radical theories. This is evidence that even highly educated people can believe ridiculous things. So how do these miracle patches work? Well, firstly, the patches are self-adhesive and round and about the size of a nicotine patch. According to the LifeWave website, they are non-transdermal patches that do not put any chemicals or drugs into the body, but, quote, by stimulating acupuncture points on the body with a combination of pressure and infrared light. What this means is they will reflect specific frequencies of infrared light to the body to improve circulation and relieve pain. This sounds a lot like someone has put some sciencey words in a hat and pulled them out at random. So let's have a look at some of the claims about infrared light. Now, photobiomodulation is a term peppered throughout the material on the LifeWave website, and this is in fact a legitimate scientific technique. It has been shown to be effective in some types of wound healing, but this requires light to be shone on the wound. I can't see any evidence for light being channeled into these pads. It just doesn't make scientific sense. And whilst infrared light does exist and can be used for some therapies, exactly how these pads apparently do this is not explained. The energy enhancer patches apparently stimulate acupuncture points on the body for improving the flow of energy and producing drug-free energy enhancement within minutes of use. Now, this apparently has something to do with light being channeled down the meridian lines. Well, I'm afraid people have been searching for the elusive meridian lines for centuries and we have yet to find them. There is still no physiological evidence that meridian lines exist. There is also a patch called glutathione, which is supposed to be anti-aging since it will apparently elevate your antioxidant levels by over 300% in one day. And the website proudly displays a graph demonstrating this increase. There are articles all over the website, but none come from peer-reviewed journals. Sorry to be boring, LifeWave, but as a scientist, I require evidence for such extraordinary claims. And I'm also not sure how stimulating acupuncture points through light can increase levels of glutathione. I mean, it's very difficult to critique this claim because scientifically it means nothing. It's just a whole lot of gobbledygook. And of course, there are plenty of testimonials from satisfied customers on the LifeWave website, even some pretty important people like Olympic athletes and National Football League players. But I'll get on to the testimonials in just a moment. In any case, none of this is particularly important when you discover that LifeWave products are homeopathic, which means that they likely have nothing in them at all. So what's the point in discussing the science if what we really have here is a piece of gauze and some water, maybe? Mr. Schmidt claims they contain amino acids, oxygen, sugars and water, and it's the amino acids that do all the magical work. But all I found on the website for LifeWave was a list of homeopathic ingredients. So, if they contain water and oxygen, how can they cure autism? According to an audio testimonial buried in the bowels of the LifeWave website, the glutathione patch has been helping kids with autism. Let's listen to the clip.
I have a 6.5-year-old autistic son. I have tried everything under the sun. Flaxseed oil, fish oil, doctors, foot baths, ionic wands, you name it, we've tried it. When it comes to your child, you'll try anything. We found LifeWave by accident on the internet. He said something about he's worked with autistic children. That got me on. I'll do anything for my child, so hey, I've tried everything else. Why not one more thing? They said, it's multi-level marketing. I said, oh, God, here we go again. But if it'll work, I'll try anything.
The basis for this dodgy claim is that glutathione is an antioxidant and has been demonstrated to scavenge mercury in cultured dishes in some studies. But this information is irrelevant in this case since we are talking about a homeopathic patch containing water and oxygen, which directs infrared light to tell your cells to make more glutathione. Pardon? This is dubious to say the least, and wrong scientifically. Well, you might be wondering how it is that companies such as LifeWave can get away with making claims that they have a magic patch to cure autism. Well, here's the trick. They don't. Officially. What you just heard was a satisfied customer espousing the benefits of the glutathione patch for autism. You will not find this claim on any of their official promotional material. But they cannot control what their distributors or customers say about the patch. They can tell their reps to not say it, but ultimately they do not have control. So that's them off the legal hook. This is a trick commonly used by multi-level marketing companies. In this case, the company is not officially saying their patches can help with autism. A satisfied customer is. Tricky and pretty evil. And of course, all of this comes with the usual disclaimer applicable to anyone about to rip you off. We never claim that the patches are treating or curing any type of medical condition. LifeWave are currently in Australia looking for distributors. Stay well away. And for the blog accompanying this Dr. Rachie Reports, please follow the links from skepticzone.tv. And until next time, this has been Dr. Rachie Reports.
The Skeptic Zone podcast is brought to you by a very dedicated group of volunteers. We do it for the love of it. There are certain costs involved, like housing the MP3s and the website, of course, and buying equipment. If you feel like you'd like to contribute, there's a PayPal button at www.skepticzone.tv. Your contributions do go a long way.
Oh, and George Harab, thanks for the socks.
That sound you can hear is the wonderful sound of an Australian barbecue. I'm here at Macquarie University with the Macquarie Skeptics. It's Tiffany Day, flipping a few veggie burgers. Hi, Tiff.
Yeah, vegetarian patties. Hey, how you going?
I'm okay. Now, you seem to be...
If you're hungry, line up right here. Go up right here.
You seem to be a busy man at the moment.
There you go.
Well, yeah, I'm just looking after the sausages while I'm waiting for Greg to get back. Here it is. I'm actually on onion duty.
You're on onion duty. How's it going today?
I think it's fantastic. We've already had to run back to the store to get more sausages and more bread. So, yeah, good turnout.
Excellent. And we're doing Not only a barbecue here today, of course, but we're doing water divining tests for a free beer.
Yep, and we've had one winner already. I think, yeah.
And we've had one winner. We've had about 8 contestants and one winner. Okay. And it's about a 1 in 6 chance. So that roughly comes into about chance, I'd say.
Yeah, that's good.
That's very good. And I hope we get some more soon. There's lots of activity around here. We've got a desk set up with Skeptic magazines and people taking money for barbecue. There's a queue of people absolutely lined up for the sausages and the hamburgers. And hopefully when they finish those, they'll be continuing on to do the water divining for free beer. It's been very successful here today. Now, look at the scorecard here. We've had 12 people try for our water divining test for the free beer. And surprisingly enough, we've had 2 winners out of 12. And the odds are roughly 1 in 6. So far, divining is operating absolutely according to what chance would predict. Who would have thought that? But this is a really successful endeavour by the Macquarie Skeptics. People are still queued up for their sausages and their veggie burgers. Listen to that sizzle. 1:15.
Well, we're only cooking for 2.
The sound of a real Australian barbecue.
We can save the leftovers for a barbecue.
And I'm up here at the head of the table here, and people are still lined up to get their sausages, and the Skeptic magazines are flying off the table. Flying off.
Absolutely flying off. Multitasking.
You are. Very well done. We've had 2 winners so far.
Oh, really?
2 winners.
Wow. How many have gone through altogether?
12.
Oh, okay, so it's exact odds. Yeah, perfect. Grab the magazine. They're free. What can we get you? 1 sausage? Yeah.
Bye.
It's the end of the day, the end of the barbecue, and the end of the beer divining. And we had, I think, I don't have the figures right with me, but something like 17 or 19 people had a go, and we had 4 winners, which is just a little bit above what chance would predict. Just a little bit, but sure, within the bell curve. And it was only a fun test for publicity, so not a true test, but interesting nevertheless. The barbecue for the Macquarie Skeptics was hugely successful. They had to keep running back to the shop to buy more bread, more sausages, more onions. So there's a clue, university people. Have a barbecue. So sell some sausages, get lots of publicity.
Join us now for Drinking Skeptically in the Think Tank.
Canterbury Country. Admission is free, so please make your way to the auditorium.
You could get up there and play.
Watch the show. The show will be
Canterbury Country.
Thank you.
I don't think that happened.
Dave, the happy singer, I'm surprised to hear that. Welcome everybody to the Think Tank. Of course, we just heard a announcement here at our club for people to go in to watch the country singers.
That's
Rachel,
right.
why aren't you running?
Well, I wanted Dave to come with me and maybe he could jump up and play, but he doesn't seem that keen.
I don't think they'd want me. I'm not very good at country music.
I see. I'd like to welcome Dr. Rachel Dunlop.
Hello, Richard.
And Dave the Happy Singer.
Hello.
Hello. What's your website again?
It's Dave.
I don't remember it.
DaveTheHappySinger.com.
As if we could forget. Welcome to the Think Tank. Cheers.
Yay, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming again, Dave.
Oh, no problem. I quite enjoy it now.
You do? Well, you're
yeah.
a regular. People will tune in to hear you, I think.
Those people listening to the show in Sydney, it's Friday the 13th, of course.
It is.
It is. And
yeah.
we've made it this far without anything bad happening to us.
But also, Richard, this is the second Friday the 13th of 2009, isn't it?
That's true.
We had one last month. February.
How often does that happen that we get?
Every so many years, there are like 3 Friday the 13th. I'm sure some listener will know the details.
Probably, yeah.
But a big shout out and a big message. I'm speaking tonight at Macquarie University.
Ooh.
I'm giving a talk, a similar talk to the one I gave in Atlanta, Georgia for DragonCon called Skepticism 101, or an Introduction to Skepticism.
Oh.
So those people in Sydney, especially near Macquarie University, who want to come along, just Google Macquarie Skeptics and you can see all the details.
What are you going to be talking about, Richard?
Skepticism.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Can you be more specific?
A lot of people don't realise what the word is or know what the word is. They think we're a bunch of old bearded men who sit around and say, no, that's impossible.
I see.
So I'm trying to...
Many skeptics are clean-shaven these days.
You're clean-shaven, Rachel, I know.
I am clean-shaven. I dressed up for the occasion.
You did. So I'll be discussing that tonight. So Macquarie University, those people listening in Sydney, and only if you're listening on Friday the 13th of March 2009, because I hope most people will be listening to this in the years to come.
That's true. Well, Richard, I want to kick off with a story which is a sad story, in fact, and if you guys were listening a couple of weeks ago, you would have heard my Dr. Rachie reports about the anti-vaxxers in Australia. It was just a summary of how we suffer the same sort of fate as the UK and the US to some extent. Now, tragically, on Monday, we had our first death since 2000 from whooping cough, and it was a 4-week-old baby girl. Now, I think some of you listeners may remember that I talked about whooping cough as an example of an epidemic that has occurred because of a lack of vaccination, and I mentioned that you cannot get vaccinated until you're 2 months old. So this girl was too young to become vaccinated. However, she was living on the northern coast of New South Wales, and this is an area of high non-vaccinated people in general. So obviously she was in a pocket where there were other people that weren't vaccinated that were obviously either carrying the bacteria or had it themselves, and she's too young to be vaccinated against it, and she passed away tragically in intensive care on Monday. So this is a tragic case of a girl dying when it could have possibly been prevented if the population had been vaccinated to enough to create herd immunity, which most of your listeners would recall is when at least, depending on the disease and or the vaccine, it's generally about 90% of the population needs to be vaccinated to prevent the spread of disease. Now, as a result of this, health officials in northern New South Wales have offered free booster shots to new parents and grandparents and also carers of young children, because obviously 4 weeks old is too young to get vaccinated for whooping cough. But they're also calling on the possibility of maybe bringing forward the jabs for new babies.
I heard that, yes, they're even younger.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, the schedule is 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, and then a booster at 2 years. Yeah. But, in this case, it wasn't enough to save this poor child. And, I mean,
I know.
It's just so frustrating, because can you imagine these parents' heartbreak that their child couldn't be vaccinated, and because some other... I was going to use a rude word there, but I won't. Some other ignorant... Misled, ignorant person has made a decision based on,
scaremongering.
Exactly, that they're not going to vaccinate their kids or, themselves. And so this has resulted in the tragic death of somebody's daughter.
Yeah.
Now, some of you may recall that we have our sort of anti-vax body is called the Australian Vaccination Network, and they are headed by a woman by the name of Meryl Dorey, and I know of a person who actually sent her a personal email today congratulating her on achieving what obviously are her goals, and that is the death of young children.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, how can she sit back now and go, well, what I'm doing is a good thing, when it results in such a tragedy?
Good question.
Well, I imagine she'll rationalise it. I don't think the facts or the evidence...
Oh, really?
She doesn't seem to have a track record in going where the facts and evidence lead.
You're absolutely
you make a good
and
point,
she, if she's decided that the vaccines are a bad thing, then she'll rationalise it in some way.
She'll say that probably for all the deaths through vaccines, this has been one that was not a result of vaccines, so that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
probably.
The baby was too young to be vaccinated anyway, so what difference would a vaccine have made?
What were you saying in Dr. Rachie reports a couple of weeks ago in your anti-vaccination about these people say it's a good idea for these children to get these diseases?
They said that sometimes it's not in the interest of the child to be vaccinated. Sometimes it's in the interest of the child to catch these diseases.
Oh, yeah.
And that was why I used whooping cough as an example.
And then...
I am not psychic. I couldn't have predicted this was going to happen, but that was what I was discussing. I mean, the potential that what has happened now could happen, with people saying, oh, well, you know, these childhood diseases aren't that bad. I mean, they have been known to say that. In fact, Jenny Barnett's been known to say that as well. Well, yeah, it's not really that bad when you catch whooping cough and then you die. You know, yeah. I mean, that is the worst case scenario. However, it has come to be this week, and even if it's not the worst case, I mean, you know, I read stories about mothers who are desperately holding their 6-week-old babies, and they're coughing so much they're cracking their ribs and they're turning blue because they can't get air into their lungs. Now, how is that in the interest of the child?
Obviously, it's not. And we live in a time and age where we know better. Well, most of us.
Well, I was talking to a guy at work today who's a parent, and he... we happened to be talking about immunisation. I don't recall why. And he's a chemist, in fact. And he brought to my attention the American Chemical Society, which is a group of, obviously, chemists, so pure chemists, you know, people that synthesise compounds in a lab, that kind of chemist, not someone who works in a pharmacy, if you know what I mean. And he brought to my attention a part of their website, which is usually all very much about structural chemistry, and this compound reacts with that compound and makes this compound. They've dedicated one whole section of their website to anti-vaxxers and debunking anti-vaxxers, because apparently a couple of years ago they received a letter in their journal from someone saying, well, what's the link between mercury and autism or something like that. So they now have this whole section which is updated regularly. In fact, the last time it was updated was about 3 or 4 days ago with the omnibus case from America. So now the chemists are doing it as well, you know. So, I mean, and that leads me to... Hang on, can we just stop for a sec? I'm just getting flustered now. What?
I was just about to tell our listeners that Rachel's getting a bit flustered.
Can I come in here?
Yeah.
Please. I'm getting angry, listeners.
I'm interested. I've got a question for you. We quite often hear when we talk about vaccines the argument that it's for a parent to decide what's best for their child, and that, you know, parents have got the right to decide for their child. And of course, the herd immunity becomes a problem there, because if
That's
individual
right, yeah.
parents choose for their child, and it's not only their child that they're putting at risk, as we've seen in this.
That's right.
How do we go about communicating this? Because this idea of parents' rights and how dare you tell me how I should bring up my child and what I should do for my child, it's an emotive argument, and it's quite a powerful argument, and in most cases, you know, parents do have the right to bring up their own children.
Absolutely, I agree.
How would you approach trying to communicate?
That's a very good question, because what they're acting on is pure emotion and scaremongering.
Well, I can give you an example of that I came across today, actually, Dave, because I'm going to talk about this a bit later on, but I'm often mentioning Ben Goldacre, so I think most people...
Hello, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
It's
Hello,
me.
Ben.
I'm stalking you. I was reading his blog today, and there's some more... I'll give you more of an update into what's going on with Jenny Barnett later on. But a parent had posted a comment on his blog saying that when they became a father for the first time about 12 months ago, and he's not a scientist or a doctor, and he just wanted to get some information about MMR because he'd heard about, you know, the rumours about autism, etc., and the mercury thimerosal stuff. And he said that he just went to Google and he managed to come up with mostly positive information. And that was, in the end, what swayed him to make a decision to actually get his child vaccinated. And I'm not sure what websites he came across, but he said that, yeah, he was convinced by that. But on top of that, in Australia, in 1997, a policy was introduced by the government at the time, in fact by Michael Wolloghan, if you remember, the health minister back then, which was called the Maternity Immunisation Allowance. And this was part of an incentive by the government to increase the levels of vaccination and also to increase the awareness amongst GPs to talk to parents about it, and also to encourage parents to complete the whole schedule. So, for example, with whooping cough, you've got to get like 1 shot and then 4 after that. So if you just get 2, that's not going to give you enough immunity either. So they introduced this incentive, and part of that is that doctors get a bit of a kickback financially if they do vaccinate kids, and also parents get $200 deposited into their account if they complete the schedule for their kids.
So there is a big scientific conspiracy.
That's right. Now listen to this, Dave. This is what the anti-vaxxers go on about all the time, right? That the doctors are getting paid, and therefore it's big pharma, and it's in their interest to do it, da-da-da-da. Now, I was doing some research on this a couple of weeks ago, and I dug up some very interesting information about this, and that is that...
Oh, she has it right here.
Well, I blogged about this a few weeks ago, listeners, but in fact, you can also get the maternity immunisation allowance if you are a conscientious objector. Now, how do you go about this? Well, you go and see your doctor. They have to explain to you the pros and cons of getting your child vaccinated. And then if you still say, I don't want to do it, you have to fill out a form. It's actually Health Insurance Commission Immune 12 form, in case you want to know. Sometimes you might have to fill out a stat dec, and then that gets sent off to Centrelink, and they put the $200 in your account anyway.
For the international listeners, that's a statutory declaration, and Centrelink's the benefits...
like our dole office that pays all our pensions and that sort of thing. So the statistics that were released a couple of weeks ago from Medicare about the levels of vaccination in Australia showed that between 2 to 3% of parents in this country are classified as conscientious objectors.
I'm glad it's not more.
Yeah, well, it is quite low, which is good, but it's also, quite, in my opinion, it's a little bit hypocritical if you object to vaccination so strongly that you won't get your kids vaccinated, therefore you're putting the rest of the community at risk, but you're still prepared to take the $200.
Of course. That's a no-brainer.
But I just want to make one final point before I explode.
Yes.
It's interesting to me that the people, the likes of the Australian Vaccination Network and Meryl Dorry, and I send a big shout out to you, Meryl, congratulations on your work this week, they never mention that they also get this $200 payout. They're always carrying on about how it's, a big pharma conspiracy, and like you said, a guy sitting on a decking with a bit of wheat in his mouth, and we'll get onto that anyway. But yeah, it's, in my opinion, it's just purely hypocritical that all they ever do is carry on about the financial incentives, but they're also getting the financial incentives if they sign a stupid piece of paper and say, I refuse to do it. So, have a little bit of ethics, anti-vaxxers. If you really hate vaccines that much, don't take the $200.
Ethics and anti-vaxxers?
And just one final point, I know I said that before, but also they will say that the $200 is for the parents. Well, do you know that not all vaccines in this country for children are free? For example, chickenpox is not considered on the PBS, which is the pharmaceutical benefit scheme, which means it's free. It costs $200 to get it. So parents that get this $200 are not going to the local club and spending it on the poker machines. They're probably spending it on getting their kids vaccinated for chickenpox. So that's all I've got to say. I'm cranky.
I don't blame you. It's a really sad story, and this was predicted, of course, when vaccination rates dropped after, in the time since Andrew Wakefield released the report, and it was predicted that diseases like measles and that sort of thing would become endemic again, and it's happened. It's happened in Britain, and it's happened in this really tragic case. And
this is what really, surely this fires at home and slaps you in the face, doesn't it? I mean, can you imagine those parents' heartbreak?
Yeah. But just remember, as Dave was singing...
Dave's the singer?
I had a gig last night in Newtown, and the drum media did bill me as Dave the singer.
I was about to say, as Dave was saying before, the anti-vaxxers will rationalise anything. They're like psychics when they fail a test.
Yeah, I know.
They'll simply rationalise and all the excuses come pouring out. I mean, your website is called The Skeptic's Book of Poo-Poo because somebody once said that skeptics always have an excuse. But compared to the cop-outs and lame excuses from psychics, and the anti-vaxxers will have the same sort of thing.
I think it's part of human nature to do that.
Undoubtedly.
And that's one of the most important things about the skeptic movement is that we encourage people to question even their own beliefs. Clearly we're all pro-vaccination, but
But that's only because I've done the research.
Yeah, exactly. And there's plenty of times I've had to change my mind because...
But at least you're capable of doing that.
Yeah.
That's
all I mean is it's not just the true believers who should be questioning their beliefs. We all should be doing it. It's a really,
I'm
really
sure
helpful thing.
There are certain things I take for granted which may be based on a shaky premise. That's natural. Everyone does that. But I think where we hopefully have the advantage is that we're able to look at the contrary evidence, and if it's compelling,
we change our views.
Put aside the fact that whatever view we've held before may be wrong.
Or if somebody asks us a challenging question that we don't know the answer to, that our instinct is not to tell them to get lost, but to say, oh, that's kind of interesting, I'd never thought about that. Let me go away and figure that out.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. I mean, I find myself more often than... Maybe not more often than not, but often I find myself during the day saying, I don't know, I'll have to go and find that out.
But the natural instinct is to, even if you don't know, to make up something. To rationalise something quickly in your head and say, well, it probably works like this, even if you don't have a bloody clue. I find myself doing that.
I stopped doing that a number of years ago, but you know what? I had to make a conscious decision to stop doing that. I did. I just
you put things together in your mind. Well, it probably works like this, but
I started saying, I don't know. Go and ask somebody else who probably does know.
All right, let me change the subject.
Have we got anything a bit happier?
I was just about to say, let me change the subject.
Sorry, listeners.
Completely. Let me change the subject completely. Now, on the past weekend, Rachel...
That was a rubbish segue. Let me change the subject.
You see, I had a segue here, was brilliant, but no, go on.
I do try.
You are trying.
Yes, so they say. Rachel Dunlop, myself, and Dave the Happy Singer were all together in the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras. Now, I don't hesitate to say we were there you and I were there for the secular party.
Yes,
I was an official photographer. You were carrying a banner, and Dave was playing his guitar with
I was with the Sydney Queer Atheists, which is the LGBT section of the Sydney Atheists.
Lesbian, gay, transsexual.
And lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender.
Your group was particularly fun because they were running around with little buses, little atheist buses like Richard Dawkins one.
Because, I mean, we've talked about this on the tank before, about the fact that in Australia we weren't allowed to get our bus advertising the way that has been done in Britain and other places. So we, I say we, I was disgraceful at not helping, but the Sydney Queer Atheists said, well, sod it, we'll make our own buses, and they made costumes, long kind of cardboard bus costumes with, free thought friendly slogans on there, and they paraded in buses, and I just turned up in my stage costume with my guitar, waving and hugging girls and stuff. But
hugging girls?
Oh yes, lots of hugs and kisses. It was lovely.
It was really fun to be in the parade and marching through and seeing thousands and thousands of people on either side of the street. Wasn't that great?
Oh, it was a
buzz.
It was fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, we were with the secular party, as you mentioned, but we were with the Pope Mobile.
Yes.
Which our listeners may have heard about before. It was designed by our friend Ian for World Youth Day.
Yeah.
And he designed a fake Pope Mobile with a fake Pope inside it.
But this time
it wasn't.
No, it was.
Well, it was a fake Pope.
It was a real person.
It was our very own president of the New South Wales Skeptics, Peter Bowditch, otherwise known as Ratbags, ratbags.com. He was sitting up there as the Pope,
and he had a ball, didn't he? I think he's found his niche.
It was an uncanny likeness.
It was.
He does look like Benedict, doesn't he?
When he put the mitre on and the robes, he did look.
He was
got the hair and everything.
Exceptionally papal.
If you want to see a video of Pope Ratbag, head to ratbags.com, and there it is. It was good fun. It was just good fun.
It was a ball.
It was a long walk home.
Yeah, it was. And listeners, let me mention, when I turned up, I didn't realise I would be doing the march. I thought I might just be sitting on the back of the ute taking photos. So I wore ridiculous shoes,
a ute or pickup for our international listeners.
A pickup. Or a lorry in the UK. I don't know.
Pickup truck.
A pickup truck. So I wore ridiculous ridiculous shoes.
Which fell apart.
Which I bought in Covent Garden in about 1997. And they sort of, they glow in the dark, etc. But they're not really appropriate and suitable.
Covent Garden, don't you?
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, at Shelley's in Covent Garden. And of course they disintegrated halfway through the parade. And so I had to signal to Richard to come over, and I just kicked them off, and he had to put them in the back of the pickup. And
you walked most of the parade in bare feet.
I did.
And then a long walk back to the train station in bare feet. And then when we couldn't get a train, we got a bus. And then a long walk from the bus station to your place.
Because we caught the wrong bus. So we ended up, I was in a lot of pain by the time. So I suffered.
I love the fact that they seem to have put all the religious themed floats together in one block.
did,
so it was
including the Raelians.
There was the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence were there. Then there
They
was
were brilliant.
There was you guys with the Popemobile. There was the Metropolitan Community Churches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then there was the Sydney Atheists. Then there was the Raelians.
But they weren't shy, were they?
No, not at all. It's all free love. I don't even think they believe the UFO thing, really. I think it's just an excuse to
get their
share the love.
There was a lot of the flesh being shown.
Oh, yes.
There were polls involved.
There was a little bit of flesh being shown by the atheists, I must say.
There was. Not me, listeners. You'll be relieved to know that I kept myself impeccably clothed from head to foot. Then there was another Christian group, and then there was the Sydney Jewish gay community were there as well, with a big pink Star of David. And it was the vibe, like, and when we were setting up, was really friendly and really ecumenical, and it was just really nice. The groups were getting photos with each other.
All the music all the time. When we waited for 3 hours in the waiting area before the floats went off, and there was constant pumping music. It was like a little party before we went off, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
We were next to the Virgin Airline bus, weren't we?
Yeah, which was packed with really attractive looking boys and girls too. Girls.
It certainly was. But it wasn't a fabulous, wonderful party.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. A great time. Now,
right. What else have we got, Rachel?
I just wanted to. I was going to segue into this earlier, but you beat me.
Oh, your fame and fortune, or your fame anyway.
Well, sort of. I mean, you were mentioning my blog, The Skeptic's Book of Poo Poo, earlier, and I found, to my surprise this morning, I usually sleep with my laptop next to my bed, and I wake up in the morning bleary-eyed and just see what's new.
Well, okay, confession time. I usually sleep with my iPod because I put in a podcast, or I'm listening to Tony Hancock at the moment.
Fabulous.
I love it.
Oh, I love Tony Hancock.
It's so good. I just fall asleep listening to Tony Hancock. I'm really enjoying it. So I wake up at whatever hell o'clock in the morning and I'm bleary-eyed, but I have got enough mental energy to press a few buttons on my iPod to check my emails and Twitter.
That's exactly what I do.
Sad.
It's funny you should say Tony Hancock. I mean, one of the greatest anti-scientific, anti-medicine lines in the history of comedy is after he's just got he's donating blood in the blood donor show, and he gets his finger pricked so they can test it for his blood type and whatnot, and he says, well, thank you very much, and they say, but this is just a smear, and he says, well, it may be just a smear to you, but it's life or death to some poor chap. How much do you want? And the doctor says, well, a pint, of course.
A pint?
And he pounds, a pint? Have you gone raving mad? I don't mind giving a reasonable amount, but a pint? Well, that's very nearly an armful. One of the greatest lines ever delivered.
I'm
it's
sorry,
wonderful.
Rachel. We don't.
Sorry,
yes.
Carry on.
No, it's fine.
Give blood, listeners, unless you're British, in which case you're not allowed.
Oh, no, because
you've
you
got
guys
mad
are
cow
mad
disease.
cows, don't you? Yeah, look, Dave's cross-eyed now. Are you all right?
I'm fine. Oh, seriously, if I got mad cow disease, who the hell would notice?
Well, no, I was just about to say, would we?
Please give blood, listeners.
Anyway, as I was saying, I wake up blurry-eyed and I just, open up my laptop and just check what's happened overnight. What have I missed? I've been asleep for 6 hours. And this morning, Ben Goldacre had posted another blog, which was a clip from a show he did on Monday night on ITV in London called London Tonight. And it was a summary of what happened with the Jenny Barnett LBC affair, the whole thing with, the lawyers coming after him and then the bloggers transcribing it, and then, the following day there were 150 blogs, and everybody knows the story. And if you don't, there's an article about it in this month's Skeptic magazine, which I think you'll talk about later, Richard, won't you? Anyway, I was just watching this clip, and at the point where Ben gets to the blogs that hosted the transcript, he showed my blog, which I was very impressed about.
On the TV?
Yeah.
In the UK, it had the Skeptics Book of Poo Poo blog.
Yeah, it did.
Part of it.
Yeah, and because I wrote quite a few posts about that, and I also hosted one of the parts of the transcript. Now, I have to say, I did not have anything to do with transcribing it, because I don't want to take credit for that. I didn't. All I did was offer to host a section of it. So someone else did that for me. I won't pretend I didn't. I did that. But I also wrote quite a lot of posts leading up to that.
I thought Ben Goldacre came over very well in that segment. If people want to see the video we're talking about, go to Ben Goldacre's blog. Just Google
badscience.net.
Yeah.
It's also on YouTube.
And if you want to see Rachel's blog, you'll find it linked at davethehappysinger.com.
Yeah, and you'll find my blog at theskepticsbook.com.
Anybody else
Skeptics with a
here?
C.
Is anybody else in the room?
Oh, well, actually, if you type in K or C, it still finds it for you.
Oh, wonderful.
I mean, I spell it with a C,
I'm
but...
sorry, the guy over there in the corner, he wants to come over and promote his blog.
Oh, do you have
Sorry.
a blog? Yeah. Shall we just walk around the club and see if anyone's got a blog?
Yes. Hey, if you like podcasts, listen to the Sydney Atheist podcast, Critical Mass.
Now, Dave, what's that magazine you have in your hand?
Oh, I've got this wonderful new magazine. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. It's blue.
Shiny.
It's blue and shiny, and it's wonderfully designed, and it's satisfyingly thick. You know, when you buy a magazine that's just flimsy, there's no advertising in there, or next to no advertising in there, and it's beautifully laid out, and it's wonderful. And it's the first issue of their newly redesigned and revamped and reinvigorated and re-excited and
reanimated.
Yes, and
reconditioned
and restaffed
and recycled. And
it's the Skeptic, the Australian The Skeptic.
Yeah.
It looks like a lot of love went into it.
www.skeptics.com.au, and you too, listeners, can subscribe to our magazine called The Skeptic,
featuring such people as yourself, Richard,
and Dr. Rachael Dunlop,
myself, and Dr. Karen Stoltenow, who's another reporter for The Zone, and
the
Kylie
editor.
Sturgess.
And Kylie Sturgess.
And Karen is the editor, and Kylie Sturgess. Michael Wolloghan,
he's
written an article about...
And Stefan Sojka. Our lovely guy at the beginning and the end who helps with the announcement.
Now, that just leaves Dave the Happy Singer. Where's
Dave,
your contribution,
where's your
Dave?
contribution, Dave?
I can't write.
You can't
no,
write?
No, that's a fib. Yeah, of course I can write, you know. You can see my
Dave,
blog.
I saw a picture of you
oh, dear.
On skeptics.com.au.
I was young, I needed the money.
Name that movie. Name that movie. Name that movie.
The movie? I
was young and needed the money.
I don't know.
Naked Gun.
It was... Naked Gun. Oh,
anyway, on
film.
skeptics.com.au at the moment, if listeners go there, you can see pictures of Dave the Happy Singer singing to us at Skeptics in the Pub.
Oh, yeah. I sang at Skeptics in the Pub.
Which was on our last podcast, as our listeners would know.
Yes, Frenella the Ear Candler.
Frenella the Ear Candler.
That was hilarious. Actually, I listened back to that, and all I can hear in the background is me going, like hyperventilating because it's so funny.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
All my dreams came true, Dave.
You did include the bit where I got the suggestions, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I would know that because I've listened to last week's Skeptic Zone already.
You mean you don't listen to the Skeptic Zone?
I do listen to it, but I'm a little bit behind.
Yeah,
because
no, it's there.
The problem is there are so many good Skeptic podcasts out there with, SGU and Skepticality and the Pseudoscientists in Melbourne, of course, and Skeptoid and Point of Inquiry.
Point of Inquiry, DJ Grothy. Hello, DJ.
I love DJ Grothy. Nice. Point of Inquiry is one of my favourites.
Wait till you meet him. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I swear.
I gather he is. He's always struck me as splendid.
But, no, that's a great point. A big hello to all our colleagues. SGU, Skepticality, Brian Dunning. Hi, Brian.
Can we give a shout out to someone that befriended you this week? Because one of my favourite podcasts is Friday Night Comedy. Now, I believe, I heard this, that Mitch Ben accepted your friend request. Is that right?
Finally. This has been ongoing for a while, where our friend Jason, who's also on Critical Mass podcast, is friends with Mitch Ben on Facebook, and I was very jealous because he hadn't accepted, but he did. This isn't skeptical at all, but
No, I know you can do it.
but yes, I'm friends with Mitch
So they have to
now.
cut it out. But I listen to every Saturday morning. The first thing I do is download Friday Night Comedy.
Great show. Honestly, the Skeptic magazine is just... I'm really, really looking forward to getting my
That's
teeth
your
into
copy?
this. Thank you, this is wonderful. Perhaps I could just read out my star sign for this month.
Please do, yeah.
Because I'm a Libra this month.
Yes, the new Skeptic magazine has star signs. Astrology.
I'm a Libra, which makes me very well balanced and very fair and... be sure to be sure before you are sure of your next move. Leave nothing to chance, which means you'll just have to cheat. To help you cheat, go and see your local psychic and ask them what the next winning lotto numbers will be.
Who wrote this?
When you find out, let me know.
That's slander, isn't it?
That's written by...
That's astrologer Dr. Dwarf Ekaf. Which, of course, is fake fraud backwards.
Oh, it's not, is it?
Yes, it is. I'm good at this, me.
Well, thanks, Dave. I'm glad you enjoy the magazine. A lot of effort's gone into that, and listeners, I think you will enjoy it. It is a fantastic magazine. Look, what's that? Scientology?
Scientology and the Travolta Tragedy by Michael Wolloghan.
Our reporter Michael Wolloghan gets an article in there.
Yeah, the sad story of Jet Travolta.
There's an A-meter picture.
So say, run to our skeptics.com.au and please subscribe to our magazine. I think you'll really enjoy it. I think you really will.
There's a story by Rachie.
There's a Dr. Rachie story. And a giant foot.
And a picture.
Of a giant foot.
Giant sticky foot.
Giant sticky foot. And, what a fantastic think tank this has been. I really love these sessions, and I'd like to thank our special guest, as ever, Dave the Happy Singer.
Thank you.
And I think we know your website by now.
Yeah, it's at davethehappysinger.com. Please come and see a show.
Oh, I forgot. You're right.
Yeah, I'm playing at the Sandringham on the 25th in Newtown in Sydney. If you want to come to that, it's only $5 in. I'm very funny.
Yeah. So we've been told.
Yeah.
And Rachael.
Thank you, Richard.
Dr. Rachie. And thank you for your Dr. Rachie earlier on in the show. That was great.
Scary stuff.
It was scary stuff. And until next fortnight?
Yes. Until next Friday the 13th. Is it another Friday the 13th next month as well?
I don't think so.
Okay. Good.
Cheers from the think tank.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the show anyway, Stefan.
No problem. I just was distracted. You're flicking through some sort of a publication.
I am. I've got in front of me the new copy of the Skeptic magazine from Australia, Volume 29, Number 1, for March 2009, and there it is. I'll put it up to the microphone.
Bit of flick.
That's it, you see.
It looks fabulous. It looks really good.
Yeah, lots of stories.
Nigerian scams,
around
Pope
the
TV,
world.
Close Encounters, Kleptomaniacs.
Dr. Rachie.
Dr. Rachie and the Detox Diets. It's a huge one.
Including an advertisement for your wonderful 123 gut flush.
That product is going exceptionally well since it was broadcast on the Skeptic Zone. I've just been inundated with inquiries.
Well, that combined with your new weight loss program.
I'm turning myself into an alternative medicine empire.
You are.
It's glorious. Well, thanks again, Richard. Another great show, and I guess we'll be back again soon.
Yeah, I'll see you in 2 weeks, but everybody tune in again next week for another special starring people I can't even imagine. But it'll be good. It always is.
The psychics will know. We'll consult them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Well, we'll see you next time, eh?
Bye now.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.
The Skeptic Zone.